space. I need some time to feel free and enjoy.
What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another brand new video. It's the same type of format, obviously, as you've become accustomed to over the week that I've been uploading twice a day. This one here right now, as you can see on the screen, it's ranking Premier League strikers of all time, the best of all time. All the pictures that you see there have been the ones that I could sort of think of, obviously, throughout the Premier League era, and some might have been before, but obviously we're going to rank them anyway. But let's jump straight into the video. Obviously, I don't want to keep this kind of any longer than it has to be. As you can see, going from probably the, best place to start is the very first one being Wayne Rooney, and end up with Carlos Tevez. So obviously all the strikers in between will be ranked from the greats of all time, the best, great, good, too early to tell, underrated, and, well, if I don't like them, it's just kind of meh. But yeah, without further ado, obviously, let's get straight into the video. Obviously, as you guys know, I don't want to mess around, and Wayne Rooney to start off with, I'm personally I don't think he was anywhere near the best or a greatest of all time. He was, in my eyes, he was only good. I thought he, obviously broke onto the scene very, very early, and, that being said, I think he just falls into the category of good. I don't believe, for me personally, obviously it's all my own opinion, he was just a good player in terms of, the way he played, and obviously, the goals he scored, obviously, and his goal scoring record second to none. But again, that's where I would put him personally. Moving on to Jermaine Defoe, obviously, again, to be quite honest, played for a quite a few teams in the Premier League. I was about to say very, very few teams in the Premier League, but he played for a few teams in the Premier League, and his goal scoring record was exceptional everywhere he went. But therefore, I'm going to put him into underrated, because I believe as a striker he was very much underrated. Always went as the kind of second striker, and that being kind of the partner in crime to whoever was first. And for that reason, and his goals were probably more than his career would say in terms of, like I said, being like a number two striker always. He went to obviously Portsmouth and he was the number one there, but who doesn't go to Portsmouth and become number one? Therefore, I think being he played most of his career behind the main sort of striker, I put him in as underrated. I think he was a very, very good striker, very good for England, and exceptional all over his career throughout club level. Luis Suarez as well. This is sort of where you start, obviously, the top three categories really kind of jump out at you. Was he a great? Probably not. Me personally, I'm going to go and slap him in there as one of the best. Don't think he was a Premier League great of all time. There's very few that will probably end up there. I think, me personally, I think he was just a really, really good player, really, really good striker, knew where the goal was and knew how to score all kinds of goals. The same could be said for the very next person, Robin Van Persie. Without kind of touching on how he left Arsenal and, whatnot and all that kind of, mumbo jumbo, I'm not going to go into that. And he was just exceptional. He's been exceptional everywhere he's been, even from a very early age in Holland, and obviously breaking through at a very early age at Arsenal, and coming into a team that was already solidified as one of the greatest teams we've seen in the Premier League. It was hard I could only imagine it was hard for him to sort of break in and obviously kind of put his own stamp on things, and he did so eventually. He had to bide his time, and obviously when he did, boy did he let loose, didn't he? Trust me. And yeah, kind of just wrapping up with Van Persie, I think he wasn't anywhere near greatest of all time, and he certainly wasn't just a great or a good player. He was one of the best, and let's not get it twisted. Even us Arsenal fans can really put our hands on our heart and just say he was definitely one of the best. I'm not sure in terms of why I picked that particular shirt to put him in, but obviously that's the shirt he was in, and But moving on, Gareth Bale. he came very, very close to being one of the greatest of all time in terms of striking ability, and actually coincidentally starting off as a left back. I think, in terms of his ability to transform from a left back into a left winger and then into like a sole striker. Now he plays obviously on the right for Real Madrid. Again, that's testament to and credit to Gareth Bale solely. Great goal scoring record all over the board, all over his career, international level, an absolute talisman. And for any team he's played for so far, including Real Madrid, he's been exceptional. None, probably not as far as right now, but again, over his general career, he's been absolutely incredible. So yeah, that being said, again, you'll see a pattern emerge. A lot of the players will end up within the top three categories, and I mean, there's not going to be many because of obviously the types of strikers we have here. I don't know. It's just there will be a few that end up in too early to tell. I mean, as in the too early to tell category is the too early to tell if they're greatest of all time in terms of obviously being a Premier League striker. Dimitar Berbatov, he was just a good player again. I know you're probably thinking that's two Man United players you put in the good pile. That's not intentional, and as you will see as the video goes on, there will be more players to join them, and probably actually another one from Dimitar Berbatov, just touching on type of player he was. Very, very, very skillful. Kind of played the game at his own level, and his level was absolutely exceptionally high. Scored some outstanding goals, none more so against Arsenal and for his retrospective teams. But again, I think he was just a good player. I don't think he was ever going to be certainly not the best or even in the category of great. Edin Dzeko, I mean, he had a kind of a short time in England, obviously with Manchester City, and I think in that time solidified himself for the goal scoring ability that he that he showed. That I think he wasn't a great. I think he's just a good player. And that's no discredit to the players that are putting good players and obviously all the retrospective categories. It's no disrespect to. It's only obviously just my opinion based upon what I've seen. The strikers obviously to come. I mean, there's a couple in the next sort of five that will end up obviously in the perhaps the greatest of all time. None more so than after this one, Didier Drogba. But Emmanuel Adebayor, I don't think he was even good, to be quite honest. I think he had one good season at Arsenal, and I don't really. It's not me being bitter and whatever. I don't genuinely think he was all that great. So he's going to be the first that takes his place on the bench or in the bin. Didier Drogba, I mean, to be quite honest, you run out of superlatives to describe Didier Drogba. He was absolutely outstanding, an absolute beast up front. Therefore, he is the first one of the not many GOATs that in my own opinion, that has graced the Premier League. Just touching on Adebayor quickly, the less said the better. But back to Drogba, like I say, he's been so consistent, and even now, he would probably nigh on walking to most Premier League sides in terms of if he was still playing. But obviously, he's not. But that I'm just saying for context in terms of the type of striker he was. It just absolutely incredible. The next one, I'm not even entirely sure why Darren Bent is actually in this list. I think he's, he was, you could say underrated, but again, obviously that's where I put him. But again, that's I don't really know why he's in, because he's in the list of some absolute outstanding strikers. That's not to take it away from him that he wasn't, but he, again, like Defoe, played a very sort of underrated second striker type role, was never the main man at any of his clubs. Maybe Sunderland, he was the right man, but obviously, again, like Defoe went to Portsmouth, he went to Sunderland, and you obviously become the main man there, because there's not many strikers that sort of go to respective clubs as Portsmouth and Sunderland. I was about to say Southampton, but Harry Kane, I think he's at the moment I'm going to go controversial. I'm going to go too early to tell. Again, too early to tell is not no discredit. It's too early to tell whether he'll be a Premier League great or not. I know a lot of you are probably shouting at me probably through your computer screen saying, "Oh my God, how can you not put him in the best, or how can you not put him in the greats?" I think it's the best compliment I could possibly pay him in retrospect of it's too early to tell whether he's a Premier League great, because like all strikers, they all go through their kind of injuries and this and that and whatever. We just need to see if he can kind of shake off this injury. He hasn't been injury hit that much, but he, when he gets out, and I'm sure Spurs fans will back me up, when he goes, gets put on the sideline, he's out for a long while. So that's partly the reason. Well, that is the only reason I put him in too early to tell, because I myself, if I had to do it and there wasn't too early to tell category, I would probably put him in the best. I don't think he's a GOAT as of right now, but I think he's definitely on the way there. So, obviously Spurs fans, don't burn me, don't come for my head top. Fernando Torres, I think he was just I'm going to put him in I was going to put him in a good player, but I think he was a great player because he had great goal scoring ability. He could score goals from literally anywhere on the pitch. Obviously, in retrospect of being able to shoot at goal, and yeah, I think that's a fair shout for him. Nicolas Anelka, he was just a meh player. I was kind of not too early to see him at Arsenal, but it was kind of he never really, and from what I've heard, he never really set the boundary or set the standard too high. Perhaps that might have been because of his age and whatever. And when he came back to Chelsea and Bolton, I don't believe he really set it any higher when he came back. I mean, a lot of players don't come back and they do better. And obviously, in retrospect of the two that are in kind of meh. So that's just how I see it. The next one, even though he was considered more of a winger in terms of the position he took up on the pitch, Cristiano Ronaldo, I mean, much like Didier Drogba, you run out of words to describe him. There's only one place you can put him, and that's the greatest of all time, because I think the GOATs of the Premier League have been the ones that have been consistent higher and higher as the seasons go on. They're always improving the standard that they've set for themselves, and they're always pushing that boundary. So pushing that boundary higher and higher for the players after them to reach. And there's, out of Ronaldo and Drogba at the moment, there's not been a striker or the strikers, should I say, that have got anywhere near their level as of, I mean, we'll come to the king eventually, but I mean, I'm going to whiz through the mez and, from now, because without making the video absolutely massive and long, I'm going to just go through take a few players, mention their names, and whatever. Dwight York, very good. Again, too early for me to really I'd say not too early to tell, but too early for me in terms of my footballing career and my footballing life. It was Dwight York, and obviously I can't really go anywhere else without mentioning Andy Cole. They were partnered each other very, very well. Great partnership, great striking ability, and amazing goals that they've scored between them. The combination is absolutely mental. One for the mayor is Les Ferdinand. Never really understood what he gave to a team. Never really I didn't grasp the whole what he would add to the team. That might be very unfair, but again, ultimately it's my own opinion. Mohamed Salah, I think he's up there with a great player. I don't think he breaks the mould in terms of being the best, and that goes with quite a few of the last ones. Carlos Tevez is going to find himself in the meh category, along with, well, to be quite honest, along with Andy Carroll. I mean, that's probably it's certainly not a credit to him, because obviously they were totally different players. But I think in terms of the meh category, it's kind of the category that I have no opinion on. It's kind of their players that I just don't really care for. So another one would be, I know it's going to be controversial, but another one would be Ryan Giggs. Never never really had an opinion on him. Never really cared for him all that much, if any. Or like if any. Diego Costa was a great player, an absolute wind-up merchant, for a nightmare for defenders. And to be quite honest, I can't imagine. I just remember an altercation that Rob Holding and him had, like Rob Holding and Costa had together, and Rob Holding went, "You're absolutely nuts," and that kind of summed up Diego Costa to an absolute T. And if that's someone like Rob Holding at the age he was, summing him up just like that, that's I guess it's a credit to Rob Holding. Gianfranco Zola, he certainly wasn't one of the greatest of all time, but he was definitely among the best of all time, and I think that's obviously reflected upon his strike partner at the time, or say like he played a centre forward role, and Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, very, very, very. I could almost even put him in underrated, to be quite honest, because I think he was he played an underrated, even though he was the star man for Chelsea, and the star striker as such. He did play an underrated role in terms of the goals he scored, and obviously the work rate and the effort that he put in off the ball. You see, I added Sergio Aguero to the too early to tell category, because I believe he is one of the best, if not he is the best striker in the Premier League without doubt. And I think at the moment it's too early to tell if he's a Premier League great. You could probably argue that he is, and that's me being unfair, but the strikers that we have today were different to strikers back then. So I'm going to whiz through the rest of them. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I believe that is. He was just a good player, in my own opinion. The same could be said with, Michael Owen. One of them, one of the strikers who defences feared. He had pace, had goal scoring ability, had the work rate was insane. So that being said, obviously it just it kind of goes against the grain, I guess, and puts him in at one of the Premier League greats. Eden Hazard, I'm going to go controversially and put maybe controversial to some or maybe controversial to none. I'm going to put him in at one of the greatest of all time. Certainly one of the greatest players I've ever seen live. I think he's absolutely terrifying. He reminded me like of a Belgian Thierry Henry, and I've actually, there are similar comparisons in terms of the skill, the pace, the absolute persona, not necessarily the ego, but obviously the type of player you are. You come with a massive, massive ego. So as you can see, we have now quite a few left. It's going to put a few too early to tells in there, because obviously as of like the players that are starting and still playing, they're the ones that are kind of trying to get to the level that the Drogbas, the Owens and stuff like that we're at, and like the Andy Cole and the Dwight Yorks and stuff like that. So they're it's I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Teddy Sheringham, never really had an opinion on him, never really wanted to, never really cared for him all that much. Robbie Keane, obviously Spurs fans out there, I think he was probably one of your best strikers that you've ever had, and that's coming from an Arsenal fan, very, very big Arsenal fan at that. And I think that being said, that it reflects very well in terms of obviously him being put in the best of the Premier League era. As you see, you've just added Henry in there. I don't think there's any other category to put him in other than the greatest of all time, because he had everything. He had everything that you want in a striker. He had the pace, the work rate, he had the football knowledge all over the board, up and down. He was just incredible. Ian Wright, again, great player. I'm gonna just whiz through the latter part of this. Van Nistelrooy, I think very much similar, a poacher in terms of the goals he scored, and very similar to Ian Wright. They both played sort of similar games in different generations of football. This one's going to be a little bit controversial. I think a lot of people would probably put Alan Shearer in one of either the GOAT or the best of all time. I've gone with he was just a Premier League great, because I think that's in terms of how and the style of play and whatnot. I think that's a fair shout. Robbie Fowler was just a good player, good goal scoring ability. I don't know why David Beckham's here, but again, he was up there with the best because of obviously the ability that he possessed. Then Dennis Bergkamp, well, the less said the better, because he was just absolutely insane. Again, much like Eden Hazard and Thierry Henry, one of the best players I've ever had the privilege to see live, along with Cristiano Ronaldo. So obviously all those four, Ronaldo, Hazard, Henry and Bergkamp, all very amazing and, just quite something. I guess that's, believe it or not, that's Emil Heskey. And again, he's kind of a meh. Very underrated, actually. You know what? I'm not going to do him dirty. Underrated. I'm not going to put him in like that. Right now, I think in terms of the last four, they're not the last four by choice. Jamie Vardy is a great player. He uses his ability to absolute max. And obviously his speed, his pace, and his skill and his football knowledge is just intense. And I think that's testament to the type of player he was. Romeo Lukaku, again, great, just a good player, and I think the same could be said, or if not slightly better, in Eric Cantona. I'm not comparing the two in any way, shape or form. Don't even try and get that twisted. The way it kind of came out, it sounded like I was, but it was just they're totally different players, but they almost played with the same kind of tempo. So obviously watching Lukaku live is like watching. Well, to be quite honest, I'm not even going to bag on him. I'm not even going to do him dirty. He was a joy to watch at times. The way he would bully defenders, and that's the same as Eric Cantona. Sadio Mane. I'm going to controversially put him in. It's too early to tell if he's a Premier League great. I think that's going to be it for the video. I mean, obviously, as you see it right there in front of your very eyes, that's how I ranked the Premier League strikers of all time, the best of all time, obviously being reflected in the top 3 categories, I guess, or top 2 categories. The 3rd and 4th and 5th, well, they're kind of just the good players that may turn out to be great. And the last 2, well, either I don't have an opinion on them or they're underrated. So, and the ones that are in underrated, I think they're very well. They deserve to be there. That's going to be it for the video. Obviously, this is probably a barrage of videos that you are not used to seeing from me. Reason being, I'm going to be taking a break from next Sunday, so that's obviously going to be it for now. Enjoy the rest of the videos that come out. I hope you guys obviously can show them support and obviously continue showing me support. That's going to be it. Talk to you guys in a bit. Deuces.